Hi and welcome back to Scale Up. My name's Paul Green from the MSP Marketing Edge. I'm today's guest and I'm going to be talking with Darren about your marketing, what it is that you think you need versus what it is you actually want.
You've got to put the right information into AI to get the right information out.
Yeah, this business would be perfect if I could clone myself.
Yeah.
Well, you can.
My team wouldn't be happy about that, creating multiple Darrens.
So you've got four massive problems that stop you winning clients.
But I think it's just Google on steroids.
I've read about this in my book, which is called MSP Marketing Start Here. It's deliberately simple, because it answers the question. You don't need to buy the book, because I'm going to tell you what's in the book next.
Scale Up, the podcast for driving growth in your MSP, delivered by industry experts.
Welcome to the podcast, Paul. So tell us a little bit about yourselves. Some of the audience may not have heard of yourself. I know you started off in the vet world and we transitioned to the MSP world. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yes, I've been in the channel, it'll be 10 years next year, and that's the fastest 10 years in my life, I swear it is. Got into the channel in 2016. Before that, I had a marketing agency working with vets, dentists and opticians here in the UK. I sold that in 2016. And before that, I was a journalist and a radio presenter. And that was what I did at sort of the beginning of my adult life. And that was great fun. I was on the radio for 10 years, doing like the breakfast shows and that kind of stuff.
So someone said you've got a voice for radio?
They say I've got a face for it. I think that's quite the same thing. But yeah, so working with MSPs for about 10 years now, and we have a service called the MSP Marketing Edge. We work with 700 MSPs all over the globe, and we help them with their marketing. So we give them their marketing content that they need, and then we give them a system of how to use it, and then we help them to implement it. And that's so much fun because, as we all know, MSPs, what's one of their weakest things? It's marketing. And, a lot of MSPs, they're very good technicians, brilliant minds, great technical people. They start the business, they get into it, and then, a couple of years down the line when the referrals dry up, it's a case of, well, how do I get new clients? And I think as an MSP, winning a new client is one of the hardest things that you can do.
Yeah, and you touched on it there, a lot of the MSPs are technically driven, that's what they deliver to customers, and also typically the founder is a technical person. So as a human, we navigate to the thing that's easy. And also I think as a human, you mentioned a little bit there then that we think we need one thing, but actually what do we need? And I think that's big when we think about marketing. People always think that marketing should look how they want it to look and what they think they need. Where do you see that going? What's the best thing we can do there rather than thinking what we want?
Yeah, so one of the core skills of marketing is being able to think from the perspective, from the point of view of the other person. In fact, there's a great phrase, and I can never remember which book this is from, but it's a phrase which says, if you can look through John Smith's eyes, you'll influence what John Smith buys. And John Smith being the person that you want to sell to. So most MSPs, when they look at their marketing, they are absolutely looking at it from their perspective, and they're looking at it saying, right, how would I pick an MSP? So I'd want an MSP with this tech stack. I'd want them to buy from this vendor. I'd want them to have this PSA, this RMM, all of which are things that the actual business owners and managers you want to sell to, they don't even know what a tech stack is. They've never heard, they don't know what a PSA stands for, or an RMM. They don't understand. And do you know what? They don't care to a certain extent. What they care about is, I just want my technology to work. I want my staff to stop complaining. I want it to be easy. I want technology to help me.
I want to get on doing my job.
I want to get on with doing my job without the technology holding me back. So you can tell when you look at just websites, and there's more to marketing than just websites, but websites is a great place to start. If you look at an MSP's website and it's kind of cold and it talks about technical, even using the word solutions, right? The word solutions.
Or the word MSP.
Or MSP, yeah. No one knows what an MSP is. Or MSSP is another one. I saw one yesterday. One of my clients, one of my members has rebranded to, I won't name him here, but insert name MSSP. And I'm like, well, that's another level of complication that your ordinary prospects, ordinary business owners and managers aren't going to know about, because they don't know what an MSP is. They'll think an MSSP is a spelling mistake, right? Yeah. It's a whole new level of complication. So you can tell just by looking at MSP's websites, is this someone who is looking at it from their perspective, or is it someone who's looking at it from the perspective of business owner or manager? And this sounds really easy to talk about, but actually doing it is a really, really hard thing to do, because you've got to put yourself in that other person's mindset. And the way I always recommend that MSPs do this is to think if you were switching accountant, or in the US it's called a CPA,
Yeah.
if you were switching accountant, how do you switch accountant? And often the MSP will say, well, okay, so if I'm switching accountant, I'll look around and I'll talk to 2 or 3 accountants, and they all seem to say the same things. They all seem to talk about tax and this loophole and that loophole, and talking to HMRC or the IRS, depending where you are, and VAT and this and that, and I never really understand what they're talking about or all the software solutions they're recommending. So I go with the accountant that I feel is going to look after me.
Or the cheapest.
Or the cheapest. Well, that's the wrong accountant to switch to. But often it's the one that I feel. And ordinary business owners and managers, they switch MSP, or as they think of it, IT support company, they switch them based on how they feel about the MSP and not how they think about them. So our brains, which make some buying decisions, they can only make buying decisions when they've got cold hard facts, because that's how the brain works. It works. It's a fact. I understand something. I can do that. When someone's buying something they don't understand, so an MSP buying accountancy services or an ordinary business owner buying managed services, they can't understand that. If a business owner looks at 10 MSPs and they've all got very similar marketing, their websites look the same, they all seem to offer the same kind of thing, they all talk about things that are just a bit confusing and there's lots of jargon, the brain says, oh, I can't make this decision. I can't compare these people. So instead, I'm going to pass it down. And I'm going to pass it down to the heart, and the heart makes an emotional decision. And the heart then picks you based on whether or not they like you or not. And this is a bit of a gut punch for MSPs, because it means all the accreditations and qualifications and all the hard work and experience, at the selling stage, it counts for nothing.
And the fact that they're introverts probably meant they didn't come over very well.
Exactly that. Yes, exactly that. Because, we'll come on to talk about this, because that's where personality-driven branding and marketing works so well, because the vast majority of MSPs are, if not introverts, they're introverted, and they're far too security conscious to have their image out there and to put themselves out there. But yeah, it's really interesting looking at things from the buyer's point of view. And I would say, if you wanted to give your MSP an unfair marketing advantage, just getting the basics right of being able to look at your business from the point of view of the buyer and really look at it, like studying it from the point of view of the buyer, and then altering your marketing and being very clear on who's our ideal buyer. There's something called an ICP, an ideal client profile. So that's not a big document that just sits on your laptop. That's a clear sentence. If I could say to you in 1 or 2 sentences what an ideal client would be if you ran an MSP, for example, that would be an ideal client. So being able to say, right, this is the person I want to speak to. This is what they want. This is what they need, which are different things. Remember, needs are brain things, wants are heart things.
This is where they live.
This is where they live. This is how many staff they have. This is the vertical they're in. These are the pain points. And when you can be ultra clear on that, so you know exactly what is the perfect client for you, then as the MSP, you flip it around and you become that client. We call this a buyer persona.
Yeah.
You literally become that person as much as you can, and you look at your business through those cold eyes and you say, actually, is this talking to lawyers? Is this talking to accountants? Is this talking to that manufacturer down the road? Is this talking to that person with 10 staff? Is this talking to someone with 50 staff who's got different headaches to someone with 10 staff? And the MSPs that do that and then follow it through consistently on their website, their LinkedIn, all of their other marketing materials, that's massive. That's an unfair competitive advantage.
So one thing I was told, similar sort of sentiment, one thing I was told is pick two of your customers and find out why they came to you and who they are. And then the MSPs I see do really well is they build almost like two virtual people in their business. So they've got a techie person and they've got an office manager, let's say. And they build personas for the techie person and the non-techie person. And every bit of material they create, they're doing it for the finance Pam or techie Paul sort of thing. Yeah. And they're building it to those people. Yeah. And they've built those virtual characters that allows them to do that.
Yeah, those are exactly the buyer personas, and what you've just described there is the next level way of doing it, where you actually create a character. Yeah. and actually, in these days of AI, you could give that person an image and build up a whole profile about them. I said I used to be in radio, and we used to do this in radio. So I was 22, 23 when I got into radio, and I was on a music station talking to our core audience, but our core audience were 35 to 44-year-old mums. Now, what does a 23-year-old man know about 35 to 44-year-old mums? Nothing, right? Literally nothing. And yet that was what the advertisers wanted, so that was why that was our target audience. So we did this. I can't remember their names now, but we built up a profile. We actually had a photo of a mum, a real mum from, I was on air at the time in a city called Peterborough, which is in Cambridgeshire in the UK. And we had the photo of this mum, and we had a list of things that she did. We used to go out and spend time in households at 7 o'clock in the morning to see what it's like having kids, getting kids to school, and when the radio's on in the background. And we learned so much about what you can and can't say on the radio, what interests them, how little they're listening, how things like the latest travel updates and news bulletins are actually quite important. And it completely changed what we did on the radio. And that was the most successful radio station I ever worked at, because we focused in on the listener. And MSPs can do exactly the same thing. I think that buyer persona idea is a great idea. You mentioned the technical one. Most MSPs don't need a technical persona, because actually, if you're just selling to ordinary business owners and managers, they're not technical people.
Yeah.
They don't understand it. They want the outcome, but they don't want to get lost in jargon. I think it's only if you're doing co-managed IT that you need a technical persona. And actually, the marketing you do to an internal IT manager is completely different to the marketing you do to a business owner, because actually an internal IT manager, you can have technical conversations, but you've got to have a technical conversation with them, and then you've got to reassure them that you're not going to steal, you're not going to get them fired.
There's a lot more to it,
But then you've also got to talk to the CEO or the CFO, and that's a non-technical conversation. It's almost harder selling co-managed IT because you've got 2 or 3 decision makers.
Yeah. The other thing I've done, and I know you've done a little bit, because you talk about home moms, employing home moms as part-time. I did that exact scenario, but I did it in marketing.
Yeah.
So I purposely went after people that didn't know our world to fulfill the marketing role. And my whole purpose about that was, I thought what I was putting out was untechnicalized. It was done to the right language, to the right persona, etc. But they would read it and go, I don't know what you're on about, Darren.
Yeah.
And that was the test.
Yes.
Could that person actually understand what I was talking about?
Yeah, I mean, that's genius, because you're essentially putting your content in front of the intended audience, or a version of the intended audience, so they can't understand it. Yeah, I mean, and that's a great example. But I could imagine most MSPs generating their own content, and I know lots of people now are using AI to generate content, and it's not the right content, because if you don't prompt the AI correctly and help the AI understand the intended market, if you say to it, please write a 500-word blog about, I don't know, pick something technical, about backups, right? And this is what I know, or interview me about backups, and you're going to have a technical conversation with ChatGPT or whatever. It's then going to pump out a 500-word blog. It's going to be about the technicalities of backups. No normal person on the planet will read that or will find that interesting. So it's just become another piece of AI slop. Because actually, we need to teach the AI or however we're generating it, what does the target audience want? A business owner or manager, if you talk to them about backups, do they really care about checking it's backing up daily? Do they really care about verification? They don't care about all of these things at all. All they care about is, if we screw up, can we undo it? That's all they care about with backups. They don't care about which system you use. They don't care about the technicalities. They don't care about whether it's done on-prem, in the cloud, whether you've got a backup. They don't care about all of that stuff. That's why they hire you.
Yeah, that's your problem.
That's your problem. All they care about is, so if something bad happens, like we're flooded, or there's a fire, or it's stolen, or we have one of those funny attacks where the screen goes red, because that's ransomware to them. It's all right, isn't it? Yes, fine. It's absolutely fine. We're going to make it immutable. You don't need to worry what that word means, but it means that you're protected. It's an extra level of protection. And that's where you really start to understand your buyer.
Yeah. So you brought AI into it a little bit there, which is obviously a very hot topic for our audience. I could be controversial, but I think it's just Google on steroids. It's the same thing techs have been using for years. And people used to say, well, you're tech and you're on Google, but actually I need to know what to ask it, and then decipher the answers to understand the risk, and then what I'm going to do next. Yeah. And I think that's where it is in marketing. Like you just said, you've got to put the right information into AI to get the right information out.
Yes.
And then challenge it about that information. Like, I wanted this type of persona, but you've not matched that.
Yeah.
Who is that? But you've got to do that prompting. Otherwise, you just get the guy that rubbish out the back.
Exactly that. And, let's be honest, on AI, we are on minute one of day one, second one of minute one of day one, right? And we can all see that there's so much it could be, and maybe it will get there, maybe it won't. Because let's be honest, 10 years ago, we were all getting Siri on our iPhones thinking, this is amazing, we've got a digital assistant. And, Siri and Alexa have just become expensive kitchen timers, haven't they? And ways of playing music.
At my house, I've pressed the button on top that makes it go red.
Have you?
So
it
doesn't even answer me.
So you might as well get rid of it. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the development of generative AI tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, all of those, obviously they're developing at some pace. It is interesting. There's a lot of negativity about AI. There's a blog in particular you should read. There's a guy called Ed Zitron. It's called Where's Your Ed At? And he talks a lot about the business economics of AI and how it costs ChatGPT in particular something like $50 to generate $1 of revenue. So that's not a sustainable business model, although they're obviously working as hard as they can to get that revenue in. But in terms of what you can do with it, I think you're right. The trick is to use it as an assistant, is to use it as something to help you do the things you want to do. So actually, you and I can do 3 or 4 times the amount of work.
It'd be more efficient.
Because it's more efficient, exactly that. I was preparing yesterday, I did a big live webinar event yesterday, and I used ChatGPT to help me prepare that. So I understand the concepts of what I want to talk about, but if I've got a slide, I would put that into ChatGPT and just say, simplify this down for me, make this easy to understand. And then I've programmed a custom GPT with my buyer persona, which is an MSP, and a very specific kind of MSP that I want to speak to. And I'll just keep using ChatGPT over and over again, revise that down for me, simplify that. How can we make that simpler? How can we clarify this? So I'm not getting it. It's not changing anything that's in my brain. I'm not saying to it, create me a presentation about this, because that wouldn't work. It's still going to be my content and the things I want to talk about, but it can help me to refine that. It can simplify it down. It can do some image generation. And I think what we're going to see over time, and especially when when AI is going to be the most useful thing, is when it is something we can just talk to. So I could just be sitting here talking to Robo Darren.
Yeah.
And you're not actually there, you're just an AI.
My team wouldn't be happy about that. Creating multiple Darrens.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? But hasn't every business owner always said, like, this business would be perfect if I could clone myself?
Yeah.
Well, you can. And okay, today it's just generative. The agentic AI is not even on the second one. It's so early days. But you can look forward 10, 20 years and say, actually, this is really cool. I'm not going to need lots of people to do this. We are going to be able to automate our customer service. Tickets, just like tickets, right? Something as simple as tickets. And obviously, I'm not a tech person. I come from a marketing background. But even I can look at first-line tickets and say, new users, password resets. Do we really need humans to do that, right? Because the humans don't enjoy it. It's a drag for everyone waiting to do that.
Creates a lag.
Exactly. It creates a lag. So if we can get the AI to do it well, 95% of the time, shouldn't we do that? And we all know the answer to that is yes. It's just down to comfort levels and what it can do and what it can't do. And I think there's a whole swathe of very basic, not just technical stuff, but marketing stuff that will just go to AI. That's the way it should do.
But you've got the opposite in AI as well. People trying to combat AI. So you've got Google and SEO creating tools to watch for AI.
Yes.
So that's going to affect you. If you're just building AI blogs and SEO material, Google's going to start debanking that.
It is, and I'm not an expert at SEO, in terms of ranking content. I think we can all see that Google is very much on the back foot right now. There's an entire generation of kids growing up. My 15-year-old daughter is no different. She uses ChatGPT more than she uses Google to research stuff.
Yeah.
What's scary is that she believes everything she reads in ChatGPT, which in itself is a problem. But Google is definitely on the back foot. Their 25-year dominance of the internet they're still dominant. Less than 1% of your traffic is coming from AI recommendations right now, but that's going to grow because people are increasingly. I've done it myself. You've done it, I'm sure. Why would I sit there and do all the Googling and do all the research myself?
Yeah, click on 20 links.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it. I did it we're going on holiday to Portugal in a few weeks' time, and I've set ChatGPT a deep research. I've told it about all the people that are going, what their likes and preferences are, and I've told it to do some deep research of what we can do in that town. And I'm going to assume that a quarter of what it tells me is out of date or wrong, but it gives me all the links. So I set that off this morning. When I get home today, there's going to be
the plan.
And that's the same as I haven't had to pay a virtual assistant £20, $20 to go and do that exact work for me. ChatGPT's done it, and that's the power, is using it as an assistant to get things done for you.
Yeah.
But coming back to what you were saying about Google not liking the content, that's when people are being lazy with it. I think the wrong way to use AI in very dangerous ways to think, right, go to ChatGPT, generate me a 500-word blog, generate me an image, boom, pop it on my website. To be honest, that kind of content has never contributed anything anyway. It's very hard for MSPs to create content that actually gets an SEO position. From what I can see, a lot of what the SEO companies that specialize in MSPs, a lot of what they're doing is based more around Google Business Profile and Google Maps. And I say that not being an SEO expert, but, it's very hard to get content right and to use content as your marketing strategy.
And to keep up to date.
But because you're up against, how many MSPs are there in the world? Was it somewhere between 40 and 100,000 from various estimates that I've read?
Yeah, and typically, because we know, especially in the UK, an average size MSP is 20 users, 3 to 4 million turnover. But you've got some big boys now, and they're spending a lot of money on SEO.
The super MSP.
How do you keep hold of that?
Well, I don't think you do. That's the thing. If you've got a super MSP that's buying up a big MSP in every town and becoming a 20, 30 million pound operation, they go to a whole different level. That's where they have a marketing agency. They don't just have someone doing their marketing. They'll be spending 100, 200, 300, half a million a year more on marketing. But I mean, those are they're different. They're not your average MSP. They're certainly not the people that I talk to because
But it's people you don't want to compete with, So.
Well, you say that. I know of MSPs who delight when one of their competitors gets bought because they know.
It's a different reason, isn't it?
It's a different reason, but they know the prices are going to go up and the service levels are going to go down, and they will come and steal some of those clients away.
Yeah.
But from a marketing point of view, it's a whole different. That's like saying I'm in competition with Coca-Cola. I want my marketing. It's like there's nothing you can do. Even Pepsi can't match Coca-Cola's marketing, and these are the two that it displays. Well, you could look at any other cola trying to be Pepsi or Coke. They couldn't. Maybe they could in the future, but today it just doesn't.
Yeah, I think Coca-Cola is either number 1 or number 2 in the world for the most known brand.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I saw something the other day. So when we talk about MSPs, what they think they want versus what they actually want. One of that is there for me is that consistency and how long things take. People think, I'm going to try this for 3 months. I'll do it on and off for 3 months. And then when I don't get anything, it mustn't work. We'll move on to this thing. What do you see in your client base, in the world? What do you think about that? How long things take and the consistency?
Yeah, so I've got 2 thoughts on this. One is about why it takes so long, and the other is about sticking to a path. So the reason it takes so long is because of many of the things we were just talking about the whole way that ordinary business owners and managers think and feel. So you've got 4 massive problems that stop you winning clients. The first problem is that people don't know what they don't know about technology. So they think they know because they want to put their iPad on their home Wi-Fi network. We know it's a little bit more to it than that, but they don't know and they don't care. Remember, the business owners, they want outcomes. The outcomes they want are happy staff, productivity, we're growing, technology is helping us, not holding us back. Because for most business owners, their experience with technology is it holds them back, it creates problems. Most of the problems in businesses are created by technology. You and I know that's because they're running on old technology or slow internet or so, but they don't see that. They just see that tech is the problem. So that's the first problem. The second problem is that because of that, because they don't know what they don't know, they're making buying decisions with their hearts. So they're making emotional decisions. That then leads on to another problem, which is that creates something called inertial loyalty. And in fact, we see this with our accountants. I've been with my accountant for 15 years, and I've thought of leaving him perhaps every year in those 15 years, but it feels difficult, right? To move to a whole new accountant, to get to know him, it's just, I can't be bothered.
And you've got other business priorities.
Other priorities. And I don't dislike my accountant. I like my accountant. It's just service goes up and down. And so inertial loyalty has kept me there for 15 years rather than choice. And it's exactly the same with MSPs. Yeah. MSPs boast about, we have amazing retention. We've still got client number 1 or number 2. And that's partly is because, yes, you service them well, but as certainly as you grow, it's inertial loyalty. It's too difficult for them to move because they don't understand technology, but they know if they move to someone new and that person is worse than you, then they're screwed.
Yeah, right? It's almost better the devil you know.
It's exactly better the devil you know. So it's easier for them to stick. So all of these things just slow things down. And then the fourth problem is that people only buy when they're ready to buy. So and this is the thing that makes it so hard to win a client. But remember, it's a double-edged sword. takes you years to win a client, but when you do win them, you keep them for 15 years. Right?
Yeah.
That's the double-edged sword of it. And that retention, you do not see that in B2B, in business, B2B business. You do not see that. So very slow to win a client, but you keep them forever. So in terms of the speed, you've just got to work at people's speed. There is nothing, literally nothing you can do. I've studied this for getting on for 10 years. There's nothing you can do to make someone switch MSPs before they're ready to do it, because it's so big, because it's handing over one of the most critical functions of their business to someone else.
That they don't understand.
That they don't understand. You cannot do it. And maybe there'll be something in the future, but today you cannot do it. So what you do instead is you bide your time. You build up audiences of people to listen to you. You build a relationship with those audiences, and you make sure you're there at the exact moment that you can convert that relationship, convert them from being a lead or a prospect to being a client. But you have to bide your time. So things like content, putting out regular content is important, not for the sake of it, but it's about building relationship. You want someone who by the time they come to talk to you, which might be 2 years' time, they might find out about your MSP today, but they might not be ready to buy for 2 years. So between now and then, you want them to have opened an email from you perhaps every 3 or 4 weeks, seen something from you on LinkedIn perhaps every week or so, maybe get a direct message from you now and again, maybe even speak with you on the phone, just or a member of your team, and just an outbound call, an outreach call just to say hi. Maybe they have seen your LinkedIn newsletter. Maybe they've listened to a podcast if you do a podcast, or they've seen one of your videos on YouTube. Maybe they've even had a printed newsletter that you've sent to them through the post. All of these are great forms of content, and actually you can use the same content across all of these. You just change it to match the different.
And I think what's interesting is they don't actually remember all of them.
No.
I always think about it a bit like this magician on a stage that says, give me a number 1 to 10, and he says 7, but you've seen 7 everywhere, you just don't know you've seen 7.
That's exactly it.
And they've plotted that scene.
Yes, it's exactly that. And in fact, if people are aware of all the content, they're not normal people. So like, I'm aware. In fact, I say that. I bought something a couple of years ago. I had one of my rooms in my house soundproof to turn it into a studio for podcasting. And the guy turned up to do the soundproofing, 4 or 5 grand's worth of work. And he said, how did you hear about us? And I said, I'll be honest, I can't remember. And he says, well, let me tell you. And he'd tracked me through HubSpot. So and as one marketer to another, because even though he was a soundproofing guy, he was a marketer, we were then sitting having this amazing conversation. And he was showing me, in his HubSpot's like a CRM, but it's the best one you can get. And he was showing me all the pages I'd looked at on his website, which emails I'd opened, where I'd come from, how I joined his list. And I actually shook his hand and said to him, you are an exceptional marketer, my friend. Because he'd got the sale by seeing I'd looked at 20 or 30 things, and then his team had just made a phone call to me, just to check in and see if you're thinking of having soundproofing. And I said something like, that's amazing that you guys have called, because I was just thinking of doing it. So that's how they got the sale, and that's how he's grown his business through doing that. So yeah, that content is there to build the relationship, so that on the day that someone wakes up and they're ready to enter the research phase, and they're like, right, I've had enough of my incumbent, I don't want to be with these guys anymore, it doesn't feel right. And people leave MSPs because they just feel maybe the service levels have gone down or the prices have gone up. It's never on actual practical reasons, unless you screwed up.
Sometimes it can just be one thing.
It can be.
It just creates the
straw that breaks the camel's back. And it could be a simple thing of, like I told you guys on Monday, my printer doesn't work. It's Wednesday, my printer still doesn't work. That can be the reason they leave. That's actually, it's the straw. It's actually all of the other things. Yeah. But we all know fixing printers is the worst job to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, they enter research phase, and if you've already got a relationship with them because of all of this content, you've got a place at the sales table. It doesn't mean you're going to get the sale, but you've got a place at the table, and getting that place is the hardest thing to do. Now, we were talking about it taking time. I've just talked about a 2-year investment there, and often I hear from MSPs, well, what can I do to get clients tomorrow? And the answer, sadly, is nothing. There's nothing you can do to get clients tomorrow. There's lots of gimmicks. Go on TechDrive, go Google MSP marketing, and you'll find lots of gimmicks. There's plenty of people out there that will take a few $100s from you to teach you the latest gimmick.
And you may get lucky on one.
You may get lucky on one, exactly that. It's like the same as doing a cold email. Go and buy a list of 10,000 people, do a cold email. You might get one lead out of it. But you'll get a lot of spam complaints and you'll kill a domain doing it. Yeah. It's like pay-per-click. Go and do a massive pay-per-click. You might get one out of it, but it's not consistent. What you need is a consistent system where you're kind of doing proper marketing, and you're doing it the old-fashioned, slow way. But because you're doing it day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out, for years and years and years, eventually it builds up this momentum. So you get to a point where you're just getting leads coming in. They're coming in all the time. You're getting people telling you, I want to have a conversation with you. Can we book a meeting? Your calendar's filling up. And to set the context of that, we're not talking like you're going to be doing 30 sales meetings a week. That never happens to any MSP. But you start to get, oh, that's interesting. I've got two people booked in. I look on my list, oh, that person's been on my email list for 3 years. And all the work you've done, putting content on LinkedIn and email and the printed newsletters and YouTube videos and all of that, it's paid off. But then it keeps paying off. As long as you keep doing it, it keeps paying off. So essentially, you put in place a marketing machine, a machine with a series of small parts that keep happening on a regular basis.
I like to think they're seeds.
Seeds, yeah.
You're planting seeds and they grow at different paces depending on what's happening, the lights, etc. And some might kick off at some point, some might take longer.
Yeah, and it's the difference between farming and hunting, and a lot of the very aggressive, gimmicky sales and marketing stuff that's out there is based around hunting. You know, where you're going out, you've got your gun, and you're going out and finding people, but you can't. That's just a tiring way to bring clients.
Yeah.
Farming is always the best way. Exactly that. You plant the seeds, you look after them, and they keep growing and keep growing for 20 years.
Yeah. So I mentioned a minute ago, but I believe off the data we have, the average MSP is sort of 10 to 20 people in the business. Typically principal-led sales, which can be really good because there's a lot of passion, but it can be really bad because they're not good at admin, they're not good at processes, they don't stay in a box, they fly everywhere, they flip, they love a new shiny toy. So if I'm sat here watching this and I'm a 12-user business, I'm principal-led selling, I'm doing no marketing today apart from the little things that I do with my LinkedIn, what system would you start with? Where would you go?
That's a great question. As an aside, the greatest asset and the greatest liability in any business is the owner. I say this as a business owner myself. I know you're exactly the same.
We love to flit around.
We do, and the problem is we're unfireable. So we're unemployable. We can never. Once you've run your own business for a few years, you're unemployable, aren't you? You can't work for someone else.
I actually had a vendor tell me that
Really?
last month or the month before. He said, "I'd love to employ you, but you've done this for too long now."
Exactly. And I cannot imagine ever working for someone else. But also, we're unfireable. As long as we can keep revenue coming in and have enough profits to pay our mortgage, we can not do sales calls properly and get away with it because there's no one to fire us. Anyway, that's an aside. So most MSPs grow in the early years through referrals, and the referrals come not thick and fast, but there's enough of them coming. So your first few years, and those first few years can be 15 years, you know, and especially when you get to the size of MSP you're talking about. When you do a good job and you're passionate, and particularly when you as the principal are out on site, right, and getting referrals, being on site is a magic ingredient for referrals. And of course, in the last few years, everyone's come back from doing on-site work. COVID was a great accelerator for coming back off-site. So the referrals, in those early few years, just the sheer energy and momentum of what you're doing generates referrals. People talk at barbecues, they say, we've had this IT company that have come in and they've just been amazing. Well, I could ring the owner at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night and, you know, on his mobile phone and he'll respond and fix my home printer. Not the kind of things we actually want as we scale, but you get the idea. So
and the other thing that comes into that as well, we're seeing a massive trend of people only delivering remote support.
Yes.
So that not only have we got a trend from COVID, etc., but we've also now actually put a blocker to going on site.
Yes, it is. Well, let's come back to that because I think that's when we talk about what makes your MSP different to other MSPs, that's actually one of the secret weapons.
I've got a view on that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll come back to that. So referrals are great, but referrals are reactive, not proactive. So you can put in place a referral program, and there's a great book you can read about this called Steve Collins is the name of the author. It's called The Ultimate Referrals or something like that. And that's a great system for referrals. But every MSP I've ever spoken to that put in place any referral program always feels a bit disappointed with the results because genuine referrals are very hard to.
Well, back to the passion bit. It doesn't matter about the money you're giving them.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Steve Gordon and The Unstoppable CEO. That's the name of the guy. I can't remember the name of the book, but Unstoppable Referrals. There we go. That's that book. Cool. So he talks about why you don't get more referrals in that book before he suggests a system. The reason is, he says, is the fear of social embarrassment. So let's say let's do the accountants, right? Let's say I say to you, "Oh, Darren, you've got to use my accountant. He's great." And then you ring his office and you go, "Hello? Oh, hi. I'm looking for a new accountant." "Well, the boss isn't here at the moment." And you think, oh my goodness, this is terrible. If they're like that on the phone, what are they going to be like with the service? And you're not going to then say to me, that was a terrible experience, because if you did, that would be embarrassing for you and embarrassing for me.
Yeah.
This is why we don't refer more. So referrals always dry up eventually in every business. It's just the way it is. That's when MSPs start thinking...
Or they're not enough quantity.
Or the not quantity, yeah. So you get the referral, you often win the work, but it's actually you, or you're being referred the wrong people. Like refers like. So if you're dealing with a 5-person business, they know other 5-person businesses. They don't refer you a 250 user business, which is what you really want, right? So that's the point MSPs start thinking proactively. But we were just saying there's like a 2-year lag. And it really is it's at least a year, 18 months, 2-year lag from when you start proactively doing marketing to actually winning clients. And that's horrendous, but there's no way around it. So I would say to any MSP, the earlier you can start, get started. So you ask me, what should you put in place? Here's what we should put in place. It's a 3-step process. I've read about this in my book, which is called MSP Marketing Start Here. It's on Audible, it's on Kindle, it's on Amazon. It's a very short read. It's like a 48-minute file on Audible. It's deliberately simple, so because it answers the question. You don't need to buy the book, because I'm going to tell you what's in the book now. It's a 3-step system, and every MSP in the world can use this. I use this for my marketing. I think you use this for your marketing as well, because I like to study other people's marketing.
You've been
You
watching
look so
us.
scared.
You've been watching us.
But it's very simple. So 3 steps. First step, I'll tell you what the steps are, and then we'll go back. First step, build audiences. Second step, grow relationships. Third step, convert relationships. So that build audiences, we've talked a little bit about this already, but you literally build up bundles of people to listen to you. So for most MSPs, 2 places, LinkedIn, email. Right? So your LinkedIn and your email. Why do those 2? Because LinkedIn is a borrowed audience. You never really own that audience. Microsoft owns it because they own LinkedIn. Do you know Matt Solomon, the channel program?
Yes.
Yes. So 2 Christmases ago, Matt was locked out of LinkedIn because he'd done something wrong, which LinkedIn had never told him what it was that he'd done something wrong. But he must have 10,000 odd connections. And I remember reading something from him on Facebook saying, I've been locked out of my LinkedIn. This is horrendous. I've lost 10 years of work, right? That's why it's a borrowed audience. Spoiler, he got back. He got his LinkedIn back, yeah. which is great. But that was a hell of a lesson of LinkedIn is a borrowed audience. You never own that data. So that's why you have your email list as well. That's owned data. So even if your CRM, like MailChimp or MailerLite, even if they kick you out and say, you've been spamming, we're kicking you out, you're not a client anymore.
You've still got a list.
The data's yours. They have to give you the data back. That's not their data, it's your data. So you have to have a balance between owned and borrowed audiences. So for most MSPs, build up your LinkedIn connections. That's easy to do, particularly if you're really clear on who you want to do business with. It's accountants of this size in this town. Get on Sales Navigator. There's personas and all sorts of things you can do. It's a bit overcomplicated in Sales Navigator, but it can just be simple of show me the accountants and show me the C-suite decision makers or the owners or the founders or the CEOs of accountancy businesses in a 200-mile radius. Boom, connect. And if every day you connected to, or you connection requested 10 or 20 new people, and let's say 10% of them accepted, which is low. But
I think that's the key thing there as well, though. Every morning.
Yes.
We have a system where we call it the 15-minute coffee break routine.
Yeah.
So when you're having your coffee in the morning, that's the 15 minutes to do LinkedIn.
I love it. Well, the smart thing to do is that the owner of the business is not to do this yourself.
I don't do mine.
No, I don't do mine either.
I'm not consistent enough.
No, in fact, you may know this because you and I have chatted on LinkedIn quite extensively, more than any other platform. You weren't chatting to me most of the time.
Probably weren't me.
No. So Christelle at my office was talking to someone at your
The biggest
office.
problem I have is when I go to conferences and people go, that thing we talked about, I'm like, how do I get out of that?
Yeah, exactly. I always just say a hand and say, message me. Let's pick it up on LinkedIn. I don't know what we've been talking about. But that's not us being rude or being distant. That's us.
It's a
using
system.
Time smartly. It's a system, absolutely. And actually, anything that's important on LinkedIn, I go into LinkedIn once a day where my VA has left unread the messages that I need to deal with,
Yes.
whereas she's dealt with the 15 other messages that anybody can deal with because we've got a system for that. So yeah, build LinkedIn connections every day, or attempt LinkedIn connections every day till you sell the business or you die, whichever comes first, right? And that sounds crazy, but as we were saying, you've got to do stuff every single day. Every day, if not you, someone on your behalf, because of that 2-year lag. So you were saying earlier, that was the thing I didn't answer in the last question. It was about sticking to the same path. I'll roll it into this one.
Okay.
MSPs are awful at starting a marketing activity, doing it for a few months.
Starting anything.
So well, getting started, but they get started, they do it for a few months, and then they say, this isn't working. And they switch off to a different path, which is just insane, There are lots of different paths. There's no one way to do marketing. There's 1,000 different ways of doing it, but you need to find a path that work, that you think this is the right path, and then you stick at it. I'm on the same path that I've been on for 9 years, building audiences, growing relationships, converting relationships. I will come back to those other steps in a second.
Yeah.
But I've stuck to that path, and it has been paying off.
I think it has to be something we talked about with another guest that we had. His comment was, you have to enjoy it a little bit, otherwise you're never going to do it forever. And if you don't, put somebody else doing it.
Yeah, because a lot of these marketing jobs that need to be done, they're not enjoyable. I don't enjoy building LinkedIn connections. I've done a podcast every Tuesday for 6 years, and I kind of enjoy it, but it's also a treadmill. You know, I'd like to have a 3-month break from it, but I know that will kill the momentum on it, so I won't ever do that. But yeah, I think the secret actually is you do those jobs yourself to get it exactly how you want. You build it into a system, you get someone else to do it. And there's a million people that will do it for you. There's virtual assistants. Before we started recording, you and I were talking about outsourcing to the Philippines and how there's amazing people in the Philippines at relatively low rates of pay compared to what we pay in the US or the UK. And that's a great place to outsource work to. In South Africa, AI to a certain extent. You know, there are AI tools like Meet Alfred, I think it's called Meet Alfred, or Duck Soup, which will automate LinkedIn connections.
Used Duck Soup back in the day.
Duck Soup, well, it's still around.
Yeah.
There are risks of using it because LinkedIn
get you
does
banned.
not like them to get you banned. I would rather use a human that's more expensive. But yeah, there's always a way you can delegate something or outsource something or automate something. But yeah, so LinkedIn connections, build those every day. Here's a really smart move. This is a super secret thing that I only recommend to my MSP Marketing Edge members, is when you've made a LinkedIn connection, you then add that person into your CRM. So notice there I didn't say you ask permission to add them, you just add them. And I know this goes against all the world's spam laws, and actually in Canada, which has the strongest anti-spam laws in the world, a Mountie would ride to your house and shoot you for doing this. So don't do this in Canada. But that was a joke. But in the rest of the world, you can just take that LinkedIn connection, find their email address. A number of different ways to do that. There are plugins. You can brute force it. You know, I could work out what yours is. It's probably Darren.strong at.
Yeah.
Most people, it's going to be something like that, or it's D.strong or D.strong or whatever. So there's only about 8 variations of that. You can brute force it, or you can use a plugin like Lusher or something like that. But you find the email address, you put it in your CRM, like MailerLite or MailChimp or HubSpot or something like that. Critically, the first email you send them, you say, "Hi Darren, I hope we connected on LinkedIn, or we connected on LinkedIn a few days ago. I hope you don't mind. I've added you to my email newsletter. I send out 1 email a week with telling you how to use technology to grow your business. If you'd rather not get it, there's an unsubscription link at the bottom. Thanks very much. Hope to meet you in real life soon. Yours, Paul, whatever." And in my experience, where we've done this,
you've asked permission, you've set the scene.
Exactly. And most people don't reply, don't unsubscribe. You might get one in 50, 1 in 60 that unsubscribe. Now and again, you get an email back from someone saying, blah, 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 blah. That's the lawyers. It's normally lawyers that do that.
Yeah,
Normal people don't do that. Yeah. But what you can do then is you're taking your borrowed audience and you're turning it into an owned audience as well. The real power in marketing comes from putting the same message in front of the same people through different channels. So if I can show you something on LinkedIn, in fact, if you can see a piece of my content on LinkedIn when you're on LinkedIn, and then I send out a LinkedIn newsletter, which is a different audience. So within LinkedIn, you can build up LinkedIn newsletter subscribers.
Yeah.
So I've got 8,000 LinkedIn connections, 3,500 LinkedIn subscribers. And I'm sure there's crossover between them, but they're not exclusively the same audience. So if I show you, you see something on LinkedIn, and then I send you a LinkedIn newsletter, which also lands in your email, because LinkedIn emails those newsletters out still, which is amazing. And then you get another email from me on another day. And then I was saying earlier about things like printed newsletters and YouTube videos and all of that stuff. We actually put out, as a business, we put out a piece of content every single day of the week. It's just like Tuesdays, it's a podcast on all the podcast platforms. Wednesdays, we do, I think, a YouTube video. Thursdays, we do a LinkedIn newsletter. Fridays, we do another video. So if you're in all of these different audiences, you might be seeing content from me 7 days.
But I probably only see 10% of that.
But you'll probably only see 10% of it. The point is that there's plenty of content out there. So we're hitting lots of different people in lots of different ways. And it's a machine. As I said, I do exactly the same marketing that I recommend to MSPs, that 3-step principle. So building audience is the first step. The second step then is building the relationship, which is the content. The third step then is converting relationships. And this is when we get into sales. My recommendation for this, for most MSPs, is you introduce a little element of outbound calling, but it's not cold calling, it's slightly warm calling. So you get someone who is not a salesperson, it's certainly not you as the owner. The owner should never do this. And actually they won't do it anyway. I've only ever met 2 MSPs in my life who like picking up the phone, and I think one of them was fibbing to me. You find someone, and it could be like a back to work mum, you could outsource it to an agency, but be very careful. There are good agencies and very bad agencies. It could be like a call handling service. The best solution is normally someone in-house, someone you've hired 2 to 3 hours a day, 2 to 3 days a week, back to work mum, working in your office or working from her home, just calling your connections. Not sales calls, they're just relationship building calls. Hi Darren, my name's Judith, I work with Paul. You guys have been connected on LinkedIn for about 6 months. Paul did ask me just to give you a call just to find out a little bit more about you and what you do. So you're an accountancy company, right? And just by leading in with a question like that, talking about your favourite subject. Your favourite subject is? You, right? You and your business. So by leading in, going and talking about your subject, we'll chat about the business for a couple of minutes, and then Judith might say, "So, do you use an IT company at the moment?" And he'll go, "Yeah, we do." You might name them, you might not, and she'll say, "Well, can I be cheeky and ask you a question? When's your contract up for renewal?" Before that, she'd say, she'd do a qualifying question such as, "On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is awful and 10 is unbeatable, how would you rank your IT company?" And they'd say, 6. And Judith would say, anything below 7 is opportunity, right? And Judith would say, 6, that's a really low score. I never hear that. So what have they done wrong that makes you give them that score? And the person you've called then sort of say, well, it's not that they do something wrong. It's just that they're sometimes a bit slow to do this and sometimes this and that. And of course, you're recording all of this. So when you have that sales call with that person in 6 months' time, you listen back to that recording because they've just told you 3 of the pain points that you've got to remove in order to get them to switch from that MSP to you. And then she'd say, well, can I ask a cheeky question? When's your contract up? It's March next year. All right, can I give you a call in January just to see if you are thinking of switching? If you're not thinking of switching, I'm not going to bombard you, but if you are, maybe I could set you up with like a 15-minute call with my boss, who's our technical strategist. That's it. That's the call that she's making. She might have to dial 30 people to have that call, but can you see the power of that call? So now, in January, she's going to call that person back. She is going to book a 15-minute video call with the owner of the MSP. That's the point where the principal or whoever's doing the sales does that call. They do all the proper qualifying. They do the number of users, tell me what sector you're in, what are your problems, what's your tech IT maturity, all of that stuff. And then as the MSP owner, you either think, I want this person, I want a sales meeting, and you push for that sales meeting, or you think, yeah, that's not for us. Great. So as the owner, you're doing 1 or 2 of those a week, 1 or 2 of those Zooms a week, and you'd maybe book a sales call of, 2 or 3 calls to get that. That's a system. That's that third step.
And it's also what I like, and I talk about it. You only introduce you when you need you. Everything else is done around you.
Yes, exactly that. And your job as the owner is to make sure that system is happening. There are anything in marketing can systemize, and this is why I know you get excited by marketing, because actually when people look at marketing and think it's a dark art and it's woo and you've got to be creative. No, it's super simple. You break it down into a series of, you realize what you want to do. You have a good strategy like that 3-step system. You break it down into repeatable tasks and you systemize those tasks. The vast majority don't need the owner. You don't need to be creative. You don't need to come up with amazing woo-woo things. Maybe you do if you're marketing Coca-Cola, but there are multi-million-dollar marketing agencies doing that, or advertising agencies doing that. For an MSP that just wants more clients, you break it down to a system of tasks, and you keep doing those. I'll give you an example. The marketing agency I used to own, which I sold in 2016, we discovered that, so we were selling marketing to veterinarians, dentists, and opticians.
Yeah.
We discovered if we sent, don't judge me for what I'm about to say, because this is like 10, 12, 13 years ago. If we sent a DVD of case studies to the person before the sales meeting, we doubled our close rate. So our close rate was 1 in 3. We'd do 3 physical sales meetings and we'd close 1 in 3. And then I had this idea one day and I said, look, just send a DVD out to everyone. So before, and we would do like 2 field salespeople out selling. So every single one, we'd send them the DVD. And then we actually did a follow-up call the day before to say, have you watched the DVD? Please, can you watch it? And just to make sure that they actually watch it. It was only like 12 minutes, right? This was the most efficient way to get them to watch it at that time. And we literally doubled our sales. So for no extra work, for the cost of, it cost me maybe £10 to send out a DVD, because we duplicated it and sent it out £10, doubled the sales. So that doubled the revenue of the business, which was an immense.
And it's repeatable.
And it's repeatable. One day, because we tracked every single step, one day I'd noticed that our sales conversion rate had dropped down to 1 in 3. So I went on a mission and I tested every single step of what we were doing until I found we'd run out of DVDs 4 months before. And Hannah, poor Hannah, whose job it was to send out the DVDs, had gone to the cupboard one day, there were no DVDs. I was on holiday, so she'd not known who to ask, where do I get more DVDs? So she thought, I'll just stop sending them out. So that one decision cost us maybe £100,000 over a number of months. But what was cool was because we had a system, and we reinforced the checks on that system, as you can imagine. Because we had a system and we had a dashboard which showed us the results, when the results went wrong, permanently stayed wrong, we knew that something in the system would be broken, and it took an hour to find out that, we've stopped doing this.
Yeah. So the key then for someone is the system and repeatability,
Yes.
consistency.
And this is what makes MSPs excited about marketing. Is like, you know,
It's a process.
Yeah, well, you know how you run your operations. You systemize everything. Well, just do that in marketing. That's it. Systemize it. Make it a system. Don't overthink it. Break it down. For our MSP Marketing Edge members, we've broken all of their marketing down into repeatable steps. I mean, there are hundreds of them, as you can imagine. Hundreds and hundreds. But then there are also hundreds in running a help desk, aren't there? If you think about it, it's all there in one place, and we've broken it down so they can systemize it and get other people to run it for you, whether that's your staff or outsourced.
So one thing I think we've talked about before, because for some reason it's just come into my head, and I'd love to bring it into this, is the system of, you've done all this work's gone out, it's got your phone number on it. You mentioned it like a minute ago, they ring up and they get what? The apprentice.
Yeah, well, hello?
No. Yeah. Do you want to like a ticket? You know, and talk us through that. So you've done all this work, what did you do?
A very good friend of mine is Mark Copeman, who runs Wingman MSP. She's a great marketing agency. And I'm just thinking now, am I about to reveal something that perhaps he wouldn't want in public? But they do lead generation, they do a lot of telemarketing, they build websites, SEO, that sort of stuff. And his biggest bugbear is when he generates a lead for an MSP and they send that over with right, we've just spoken to this person, they're expecting a call from him today. And then 3 days later, the MSP still hasn't called that person, which is the same thing that you were just talking about. You've just wasted a year's worth of work on that. I think, again, you have to systemize your way around that. So if actually your delivery is technicians picked up the phone and going, oh, so-and-so IT, which is a sales killer, then if that's the instance, you hire a call handling company, even if they're only handling one call a month. There's a professional sat there. Call handling companies are set up to handle calls for hundreds of customers. Yeah. When a call comes into your number, it comes up on their screen what they say.
They have a transcript.
It's all professional. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, Hampton. Yes, I can do that. Let me just look at his live calendar. Oh, yes, he is available right now. Let me put you through, or whatever is the case, right? So you can systemize your way around that. My bugbear is calling MSPs that never answer the phone. Now that seems to happen more in the US than the UK. We've done all sorts of programs where we've done outbound calls. In the UK, most people answer. In the US, most people don't answer, which just blows my mind.
The bit that frustrates me in the US is the amount of websites I go on that don't have a number.
Oh yes.
It just astounds me.
I know. And the reason you need a number, you might say, well, that's not a very 2025 thing to do. But the reason you have a number is because at the point someone's at the research phase and they want to have a call with you, some of them want to pick up the phone and talk to you right there and then.
Yeah.
Buyers want to do stuff when buyers are ready to do stuff. So live calendar is the right thing to do. It's the right call to action. But you're right, there has to be a number, definitely.
So you would either systemize it, outsource it. I think the other thing is you put a different CLI on, so at least it goes to a different route. It's a different route. But you also need to systemize, like you mentioned, someone says, I want a phone call, then they don't want it in 3 days' time.
Yes,
we had one just 2 days ago. It sticks out in my mind because the prospect said, I didn't realise email flew that fast. Because we rung them that fast off the back of filling out the contact form.
Yeah,
that's what you want.
And you get the sale. That happened to me yesterday. I sent. I have an EV, an electric vehicle, and my charger started tripping off, which is kind of worrying, isn't it? Yeah, as in it's taking the whole house electrics off. So I need to get that fixed. I sent 3 emails to electricians in my local area. 2 minutes later, the mobile phone rang, and it was an unrecognised number. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be a scam call, but I'll answer it anyway. And it was one of the electricians. They're booked in. He's coming today. It's amazing, right? And they got the business because they were the fastest to respond. And I might be charged thousands tonight to rewire the house. I hope I don't. But you get the idea. They got the business because they responded fast. I haven't even had an email back from the other two almost 24 hours later, which is crazy. I've been in meetings with MSPs where their phone has rang and they've gone, yep, okay, I'll do that. I'm like, anything important? Yeah, we've just had a lead call in. I'll call them back at lunch. I'm like, no, you won't. Get out there now. Literally go out there now and call that person back. Yeah. There could be 200, 300,000 worth of work that you miss out on because you don't call them now.
Yeah,
call them
all
now.
That money and all that time.
I know, because it's not like you've got leads coming in every day, right? Yeah. If someone phones into your business, that is that's the something is on fire thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And actually, when you're on holiday, as the owner, if you're the person that does the sales, I've always said, I don't do sales in our business because we have a system and we have people joining all the time, so we have a salesperson for that. But when he's on holiday, I'll do that because I don't ever want to miss out on a sale. And same with an MSP. If you're on holiday and you genuinely don't want to do those calls, someone in your business has to do it. Maybe hook up with another MSP in a different part of the country and he does your initial sales call for you and you do it for him when he was on holiday. And there's no risk of him stealing the business because he's 500 miles away or whatever. But yeah, you've got to, all of these things, you have to think them through and systemize your way around them in some way.
Yeah, and be fast when you need to be fast.
Yes.
We talk a lot about how in your own personal life we're being brainwashed. Amazon can give us something same day, etc. That's what customers want. Well, they want that pace.
Taking aside AWS, which obviously is a massive part of Amazon, Amazon has dominated retail because it's beaten expectations. It's in the old-fashioned thing was you couldn't have something fast and cheap. Right? You could either have it fast
and return it easy.
And return it easy free, yeah. You have Prime, I'm sure. I have Prime. Everyone has Prime because it's just, why would you pay for postage? And, you can order something at 9 a.m. and it's with you by 5 p.m. and it's cheaper than you'll find anywhere else. And so we've become lulled into just doing that as default. But Amazon hasn't put the prices up. Often when companies get that dominance, they put the prices up, but they haven't done it. And Amazon will dominate for as long as they keep doing that because you're right, they've taught us. It's the same with streaming. Our whole society has shifted in 20 years into, I want it now. Our kids, my 15-year-old has grown up not watching linear live TV, right? But I want to watch this right now. And do you know what? If I can't watch that, I'm going to subscribe to that for a month and just watch it.
I want to watch the whole series now.
Exactly, yeah. Sometimes we go to she's really into arts and crafts. We'll go to a physical shop called Hobbycraft, which is a nightmare because it's so expensive. And she'll be like, they haven't got so-and-so in. This is outrageous. Because she knows that Amazon's got it in. Because the thing is, if it's not in the local Amazon warehouse near us, where I live, it'll be in 200 miles away, but the computer will move it overnight so it can be at our house tomorrow morning. And whereas Hobbycraft can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this is society. The 15-year-olds today are the decision makers of 15 years' time, and they are going to be demanding so much more from us.
So we've talked about systemizing the marketing. We've talked about nurturing it after the effect, and we talked about what do you do when someone rings. Answer now.
Yeah.
So then the biggest question I get asked so many times, I get asked two questions. Number one is, how much per user for IT? Always get asked that one. And the second one is, Darren, how do we stand out? Yes. You mentioned websites earlier, you look at 10 IT websites, I can guarantee they're almost even the same frames. It's like they've used the same template in WordPress. It just looks the same, with the same word, the same things, the same shiny white teeth stock images. How does, in your opinion, an MSP stand out today?
Yeah, it is the hardest question. I don't have any clear, definitive answer in terms of just do this and you stand out. Because obviously, if everyone did the same thing, then no one will be standing out again. The first thing is you've got to be clear on who you want to do business with. So we talked earlier about something called an ideal client profile and having a buyer persona. That in itself can help you realize what your differentiation is. As an example, let's say you realize our ideal clients is lawyers with around about 20 staff within 100 miles of here. But now that's your differentiation. There's something called a USP, a unique selling proposition, which you'll have heard about because it was actually invented by a guy called Rosser Reeves in an advertising agency in Madison Avenue in the 1960s. If you've ever watched the show Mad Men, the character of Don Draper is based on Rosser Reeves. So you imagine Don Draper invented it. And for those that watch Mad Men and love Mad Men, that's a cool face to put to that. So unique selling proposition, what makes you different? So if you're working with lawyers, around about 20 staff, within 100 miles, that's your differentiation. We only work with lawyers. We only work with lawyers of mid-sized firms. We only work with lawyers of mid-sized firms in this area. And then your differentiation on your website says IT support designed for lawyers with 20 staff in the so-and-so region, right? And that when you're doing headlines on websites, you're not trying to be smart. You're not trying to win awards. You want very clear, plain text telling the person who's reading it, you're in the right place or you're in the wrong place. I'm an accountant, I go and look at that. Oh, these guys only work with lawyers. I leave. That's great. We must never be afraid of people leaving our website because it's not for them. In fact, we should be afraid of it appealing to everyone. When you appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one. You'll know this, in the UK we have a food stuff called Marmite, which is known as Vegemite in Australia. There is something in the US, I can't remember what it's called, but here in the UK, Marmite for 20 years has had an advertising campaign that you love it or hate it. I'm a lover, what are you?
Hater.
You hate her, okay.
Oh, just don't get it at all.
I could eat Marmite every day.
No.
It's delicious. So, and it is a product that you genuinely have very strong feelings about. And they have grown their sales very effectively by saying you love it or you hate it. And actually, your marketing, an MSP's marketing, should be you love it or you hate it. I should look at your MSP and immediately think, oh, this isn't for me. Because the more people do that, the more people go, oh, I like this. This is for me. They don't say it, they don't think it, they feel it. So you want to stand out. You want to appeal to someone. So a vertical or a niche is the easiest way to differentiate yourself, as long as there aren't lots of other people differentiating. When you've got 20 MSPs that all say we're looking for lawyers mid-size, then suddenly that goes out there. So then you kind of look at it and you say, well, what else do I differentiate it? So is it down to my tech stack? Is it down to the PSA I use? Is it down to my RMM? Is it down to our systems, our procedures? No, none of those things, because all of those are internal things. None of your clients care which vendor you use. They don't care which PSA you use. They don't care about any of these things. These are all internal things. They don't understand these things. There are words and big vendors that you and I use, like Halo. Halo is a word that we use, that everyone uses in the channel, and to ordinary business owners and managers, it makes no effect to them whether you use Halo or not. So you choose to use Halo because it's a great piece of kit, but it's not a differentiator at all. So you can't use your tech stack, you can't use your systems, your processes. To ordinary business owners and managers, every MSP does the same thing.
And they all say the same thing in the pitch.
Exactly.
We're all about long-term customers.
Yeah.
We're all about
partnering. Don't get me started on the misuse of the word partnering.
We have all the best techs, systems, and processes to secure your business.
Exactly.
And we're all about you. We won't
Yes.
sell you something that you don't need.
Yes.
And they've heard that 5 times already today.
Exactly. And so when even two people are saying the same thing, it doesn't work. So we then come down to there's just 2 categories of differentiation left. Number 1 is genuine service differentiation. So, for example, 24/7 support, genuine 24/7 support. Whether you outsource it when like 6 p.m. to like a white label support help desk, or whether I know some MSPs team up with an MSP on the other side of the globe. So you look after their clients at night, they look after yours. That's a genuine differentiator if none of your competitors offer it. Because you can say to someone, and this is where you appeal to them emotionally, when you're working late and it's like 8:30 at night and you're in the office and then you decide to go home, you've got to get that important thing done, and it's now 10 p.m. and you're home and your laptop is just not working properly, and well, you just call us. Because as long as you're doing work, we're not going to help you with your home stuff, but as long as you're doing work, whether you're at home or work, we'll help you with that. 24 hours a day, right? If you're working on something at 2 a.m, you can call us. It's not going to be the same people you speak to during the day. It's our partner, but they have access to your records. They can do this. You can see that that's a genuine differentiator, so long as no one else offers it, or not many other people in the market offer it. Exactly the same as on-site support, and we were talking about this earlier, right? The vast majority of MSPs don't want to go on-site. Actually, I have some clients I work with that their differentiator is we will come on site. Some of them it's we'll come on site if we have to. Some of them we will come on site one day or one hour, one morning every month. In fact, we're going to bring some cakes or bring some pizza and we'll just come on site and we'll just do a flurry of stuff. And that's their differentiator is we're the only people that come on site. You're going to pay a bit more for that because it's not as efficient a way of use of text time. But we're going to come over to you 2-3 hours once a month. We're going to fix all the little problems, all the printer problems, the driver problems, the updates, all the things that sticky key on your keyboard, we'll fix it. We'll fix all of that. We'll have some pizza together and then we'll go and you'll see us next month. And that's the number one reason that their clients stay with them is they love that frantic tech day.
Touch point.
And you and I know from a retention point of view, that emotionally that ticks all the boxes. So when that contract's up in a year's time and the boss says to the team, do you think we should renew with the tech people? They all go, yes, we love it when Dave comes in and he brings the cakes or the pizza and he just, I love it. I'm sitting there, I can't wait for the tech day when he comes in and he fixes the sticky key or does that thing with a printer. From an emotional retention point of view, that's huge. So you can look as an MSP at your direct competitors, because you're in competition with 100,000 MSPs really, but who are your direct competitors either in your town or a vertical? if they're not doing on-site or they're reluctant on-site, because most people when they say they're on-site, it's reluctant on-site, isn't it? It's, if they really have to, and turn on-site into a competitive advantage. And build that into your
It's exactly what I talk about.
Yeah.
Don't try and...
Are you copying me or am I copying you?
I'm not sure. We both read the same book. I can't remember stuff I read or whether it's my ideas or not. I don't know. But I always talk about don't look after the things that they're doing and try and do them better. Try and do the things that they're not doing. What's the thing they're not doing and do that to the max.
I love that. Yeah, that's really smart. But it's copyable. And that's the problem. 24/7 on-site, it's copyable. So let me tell you the differentiator that is completely uncopyable. It's you and your people, right? So you're the face of your business. I'm the face of my business. We're the pretty ones in the podcast doing this kind of stuff.
Pretty? I think you said you did radio earlier.
I did do radio. I had a face for radio as well. You could look at, and you put lots of content out, I put lots of content out. Neither of us are narcissists. We don't particularly, it's something we do. We don't particularly
I don't
enjoy.
watch most of it.
No, I don't watch most of it either. But we do this because we have competitors. I have direct competitors. In fact, I have one who proudly tells anyone that he copied my business idea, right? Which is nuts. But the one thing he could copy my processes, my systems, what he sees on the website. The one thing he can't copy is Paul. Right? I have a unique, authentic personality. Darren, you are a unique, authentic personality. And I use the words authentic personality because this is the real me, right? The way I am in videos or the way I write or the way I am at conferences or whatsoever, it's the real me. So I have shaped my marketing around the way I am. I swear less in my marketing. Yeah, that's the only difference. In real life, I swear a lot.
Yeah.
I've been
And you look taller.
Thank you so much. You're going to think I'm like 5 foot or something. But actually, that is the reaction I get from most people when I meet them in real life for the first time is, wow, you're shorter than I thought you were. Great. But I've based my marketing around my authentic personality. I know you've done exactly the same because I have watched your stuff. And
Mine's Wigan East. You can't get rid of it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't take the Wigan out of the boy, right? Yeah. But this is what MSPs should do. And I know this is painful for MSPs, but you have got to be the face of your business, right? You've got to have pictures on your website of you and your team. You've got to have, you've got to tell your story. You've got to be in videos. You've got to be the person's presence, right?
Do things in your local area.
Doing things in a local area, yeah. So I work with some MSP, particularly in the US, where they'll go to the local ball game or the local football game. And people will be like, hi, and they know them because they've seen them in videos. In fact, there's an MSP I worked with in the UK who had a similar thing, who did his own videos for about 4 years. I think he stopped now. But for a while, when he went to B2B networking meetings, he was almost infamous because everyone was watching his videos. And it's like, what's his chances of winning the business? It's pretty high, right? Do you hire the person you've never heard of, whose website looks like everyone else's, or do you hire the person with a very unique website that's built around his personality, who you've seen in videos, who's he's the local tech authority? It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when you've got that kind of market position where you're the one person they look at, you can charge the most as well, because people expect to pay higher prices to hire the authority, to hire the expert. Let me tell you why most MSPs won't do this. They're scared. They're overly cybersecurity conscious, and I do understand there is a cybersecurity risk of putting stuff out there, but you can box that risk in, right? So you won't find a lot about me personally out there. I'm sure you could find my home address if you Googled it hard enough, but the advantages I see outweigh the disadvantages.
Yeah, I was going to say risk versus reward.
Risk versus reward, and you don't have to put everything out there. I mentioned my child's name. I've never mentioned my girlfriend's name. There's a lot about me and my history out there, but there has been for the last 20. I was on radio, for goodness sake. I had 100,000 listeners. Yeah. So there's a certain amount of stuff that's just out there already. Most cybersecurity concerns from MSP. Well, I know MSPs who won't even put case studies on their website of their clients, because they're worried about their clients being hacked. And I see both sides of that, but risks and rewards, and actually you owe it to yourself to make sure your clients are well protected, and that someone couldn't ring up and say, oh, hi, I'm calling from XYZ IT. I just need you to do a remote session in for me, because we know that that's the risk, isn't it? That a scammer does that, and you have a system in place to stop something like that from happening. So MSPs won't do it because they're scared, they're cybersecurity conscious, and they're worried that people will judge them, that their family will judge them, their friends will judge them. None of this happens. None of this happens at all. The only thing you've got that truly differentiates you from all the other MSPs, which cannot be copied, is you. And you be you. If you're an introvert and you're quiet, you use that, right? You call yourself the quiet IT guy or something like that.
Yeah.
I know an MSP who always dresses in a sharp suit, like it's £1,000 suit, and he calls himself the smartest guy in IT. Because he's not as in smart brain, although that's the implication. He looks the smartest. That's his uniform. So when he goes to meetings, he turns up in a because these days we all look like this, don't we? This is business owner uniform, jeans and shirt, right?
I've not worn a tie and I don't know how long.
I know, right? He does. He wears an expensive suit and a tie because that's him, and he's actually comfortable. It's his uniform. He takes the suit off and he's no longer in the uniform.
Well, people buy from people.
People buy from
So
people.
if you put this face on video, and then the next minute when you do go to the sales call and you're completely different, they're going to go, hang on.
It's got to be consistent.
What's that?
It's got to be consistent. But actually, you saying people buy from people, that hooks into why your authentic personality needs to be the differentiator. Remember, they're not picking your MSP based on what you can do. They want the outcomes, but they don't know how to differentiate. So they will connect to someone that they think, this guy seems to know what he's doing, or this lady seems to know what she's doing. And the more they can go down the rabbit hole with you, if they can watch videos with you in it, if they can read your LinkedIn newsletter, get emails from you, find out a bit about your family, see what you do in your spare time. Oh, you're a supporter of Norwich Town, so am I. All of that affects the sales decision. It guarantees you a place at the table when they're ready to switch MSPs. It makes them more likely you're going to win. It's not going to guarantee it. But all we need to do is get you a place at that table when someone's ready to switch MSPs.
And if you could tell them something that resonates with them, or something that tells them a little bit about something that they know, but maybe a bit more, that again sparks that.
That is I can't remember what I've called it in the past, but it's the magic thing of finding you have a connection with every single person on the planet, every single person in some way. You've just got to find it. And let's say you and I just met today for the first time. So we've never met in real life before, but we've chatted online a bit.
Yeah.
I've interviewed you, I think. Haven't I?
Yeah,
You've
done
possibly
podcasts
interviewed me and whatever. So we've already got that connection. But if I've met someone for the first time and I really want to find a connection, I will just say, so whereabouts are you from? And what kind of sports are you in? Oh, F1. Oh, yeah, I'm into F1 as well. Have you been to the so-and-so Grand Prix? Oh, I went to that one. Do you remember when? And suddenly we've got a connection. And it's really easy. It's family. Because, you've got kids, haven't you?
Yep.
Yeah, so I've got kids. How old are your kids?
21, 22.
Oh my goodness, so mine's 15. I mean, tell me they leave when they're 21. Right?
No.
No, okay. So suddenly that's just a connection thing. We've just connected over kids. And now we can talk about what a nightmare a 15-year-old is and how she's going to sleep for the next 5 hours because it's still morning, you know what I mean? And you and I now connect over that because that's a shared experience. We could then talk about how to be a present dad and be a present business owner, right? Which are completely conflicting demands. We can bond over that. We don't even need to go near sports, but we could then talk about sports, community, scouts. Right? I was in scouts for 10 years when I was a kid, and you go, I was a scout as well. Oh, that's amazing. Every single person on the planet, you've got something in common with them.
Yeah, you can create a conversation.
You create a conversation and you create a bond. And again, that's another, it's almost like this is a checklist, actually. This is a checklist of, right, do I stand out as an authentic personality? Yes. Can I create a bond with them? Yes. Can I then talk to them about their favourite subject, which is their business? Yes. Can I ask really intelligent, open questions and let them talk about their pains? Let them get emotional about how their business is being held back and how it's affecting them at home? Yes.
Stir that a bit more.
Stir that a bit. Poke the pain. That's called poking the pain. Right. So when your technology is slow and your staff do this and it means they don't do that, what does that do to productivity? What does that do to output? Oh, output. Oh, don't tell me about output because that goes down 10% and then we breach this and we don't hit this and financial and then suddenly I can't pay my mortgage. Right. So slow computers can be directly related to you not being able to pay your mortgage. Can you see the connection I've just made there? I'm going to buy from you, your MSP, every single day because I'm going to take slow computers away. Every MSP can do that, but it's the MSP that makes the emotional connection between slow computers and not being able to pay your mortgage that wins the sale.
Yeah, and that's why principals are so powerful because that's what they do really well.
Yes.
They can find those little needles and open them.
Yes. The last job any principal should give up is direct sales calls. And I know that most of them hate direct sales calls.
Yeah.
I hate sales calls. You hate sales. We all hate sales calls. But it's the last job you give up.
Well, the financial figures back that up. So when you look at things like SLI and best in class, typically only about 3.5 million, 4 million turnover and plus should have any type of sales.
Yes.
Because you can't actually put enough money into the sales pot.
Correct.
Because of your profit and revenue. That's why it should be the principal.
Yeah. So those super MSPs that we were talking about earlier that have grown through acquisition, of course, they have sales teams and they have very aggressive account managers because that's their model. And you couldn't have principal-led sales. But I agree with you, I probably wouldn't have gone so high, but I'll now change that in my head to go up to that high. The reality is, you're doing 2 sales calls a month. aren't you? Right, as the principal. And actually, you view it as fun. When you've got to that stage where you're at 3 million, every extra client is just adding a bit extra. It's not like in the early days where if I don't win this client, we can't pay our bills this month.
And you systemize it, so you just turn up for that bit.
Exactly. You turn up for that bit with someone senior, your technical team, because often when you're the principal of the 3-4 million business, you're not really in touch with the technical.
Yeah.
So you turn up with your service desk manager or whoever. You're doing the bonding, the emotions, the you can trust us. You don't say those words, but you're doing that connection. The technical person is there to talk about where the solutions might lie, how we would design a technical whatsoever, what kind of projects you might need to do. And the follow-up can be done by someone else. It doesn't even need to be done by the principal, although it should be done by the principal.
Yeah, I think I talked about it before. The first sales job you should have is a sales admin.
Mm.
So they will do all the leading up stuff, all the calls, all the meetings, to get the meeting in place.
Yeah.
You do the meeting. They then do all the follow-up, the quotation, the following the quotation, and winning the deal, and bringing you back in if you only need it.
Yes, exactly that.
So then you turn up for 1 hour.
Yeah.
And like you say, that might be 2 calls a month.
Yeah, and there's actually there's a standard model in professional world. So if you take a dentist, for example, a dentist will have 1 or 2 nurses accompanying them, and the dentists make money when they're drilling, when they're in the mouth, right, and they're drilling teeth and stuff.
When they're talking to you as well, when you got your mouth full.
Yeah, I know, they do that deliberately. My girlfriend's a dental nurse, and she's been telling me all the secrets of dentists. But one of the principal things in any dentistry business is you protect the dentist's time. So sterilising the screws and nails and stuff, preparing it, bringing the clients in and out, all of that someone else does, because if the dentist goes out into the waiting room, the dentist has just lost 2 minutes, which is 2 minutes of prep time they could be getting the next patient. So that might make the difference between seeing 60 patients a day or versus 40 patients. It's the same amount of time in the building, but 60 patients is a Ferrari, right? 40 patients is just a Porsche. So that's the model where all the staff work around the dentist to maximise the dentist's time. It's exactly the same for the principal. Your sales admin or whoever should work all around you to maximise your time, because actually the principal should only be doing sales calls, maybe high-level client management calls with the biggest clients, and then leading the team. Leading the team and saying, where are we going?
90% of the principals should be with the team.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Mentoring the team, looking after the team, making sure things are running.
Yes, and not working lots, so you're thinking about the business lots. I think a principal should be working 20 to 30 hours a week max, and maybe having a clear day off a week, and that clear day should be invested in time to think. Get a dog that walks for 5 hours, take the dog for stupidly long walks, and that's when you think about your business. It's the same way as, and this is the hardest thing when you're trapped in the smaller business. Firefighting every day. You can't, you work for 6 days a week, you're working up to 80 hours, you have zero clarity of thought. And this is the advantage that the bigger MSPs have, is that as the principal, you have the time to sit and think and go, I wonder what would happen if we did this, or maybe we should improve this, or I don't know, it's just that standard seems to be higher than it was last year. Let's investigate that and up our game in that. And the smaller MSPs don't have time to do that. Your job as an early stage, and remember, early stage can be 10 years for some people. Your job as an early stage is to get yourself to the point as
keep running.
You can. Keep going and keep losing jobs off your plate. I know it's hard, and I know cash is always difficult, but the more stuff you've got on your plate, the less time you can think, and you can,
you'll be affected at anything.
You won't know. But you and I see so many people like this, and they're stuck in that. They're trapped in it, really.
So that was a great conversation, Paul. Key takeaways from this conversation, for me, it was all about standing out. Being you and selling you and people buying from people. I think you had a great take on that. Yourself, what do you think was good to take away?
Oh, thank you. I think for me it's about creating marketing systems, and don't let marketing be this woo dark art. Just break it down into a series of repeatable tasks that other people can do for you.
Thank you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the content.
And if you have loved it, please subscribe on YouTube. You can also listen on your favourite podcast platform.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of Scale Up, don't forget to like and subscribe. If there are any topics that you would like to see on a future episode of Scale Up, please leave a comment below.